Drivers and Danica, start your engines!
Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, NHRA, and local dirt track and drag strip racing talk. This is the fastest hour in radio.
Where'd you go? Where's your home? How'd you end up all alone? Can you hear me now? Hear me now?
Here's your host, Steve West and Dustin Harmer, with producer John Myers.
Hey, welcome into the fastest hour in radio. 2016 well underway, and nice job on the new intro, sir.
Thank you.
It's something we've been promising for a long time. It's finally arrived.
I finally found time.
Yes. Well, that's usually what it takes. I am Steve West. Dustin Harmer sitting right across from me. Producer is John Myers, as you heard in there. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great.
Wonderful. Lots to get to today, including the fact that we have guests in studio. Greg and Garrett Lloyd are back with us here in studio. We're going to talk about the 2016 season. Got some news coming up as well, so we'll get to all that here in just a little bit. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Now, 2016 season is underway, technically, because of Ice Bowl. How did we do?
Well, I led about 13 laps of the feature race and wound up just a little bit short, finishing second, but I was proud of that, though.
Seen video of that. That was nice.
That was nice. Fighting back.
That was nice.
Good finish.
Because not only, it was clean, and that's the thing that you like about that.
Yes,
it was nice, and Dad likes that, too, because that means less body work.
I could have drove him dirty if I wanted to, but I wanted to do it clean, you know?
And it was very nice and very professional.
Yeah.
Well done. Very good. Now, what is the plans for 2016 as we look ahead here? We've got full year coming, ready to go?
Oh yeah. We're gonna venture out a little bit. We gonna put him in my Thunder car after some seat time on some Sunday practices, and plus we bought a new crate late model.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna
get into full details on that in a little bit because there's machine machinations in the background here that we're also working out to where we might get our logo on the car.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, you're definitely on.
Yeah, so we're getting size, we're working out sizes and everything like that, trying to get everything fixed up and set up.
That seemed to start a rumor. I heard.
I wanted to start off with some really good news because unfortunately, you and I have met him. And you want to talk about a legend, and it's sad to kick off this, but I feel like it's something that we need to do right off the bat, and the fact that the motor racing legend has passed away, in the fact that Tuesday we learned that Barney Hall passed away. For more than 50 years, Hall had been the voice of NASCAR, started off in broadcasting in his hometown in Elkin, North Carolina back in 1958. He was actually one of the first public address announcers for Bristol Motor Speedway as well. When the Motor Racing Network was founded in 1970, he was one of their very first hires, started off working turns first and then moved up into the broadcasting booth. In 2007, he was inducted into the National Motorsports Press Hall of Fame, and then 5 years later, honored by the then fledgling NASCAR Hall of Fame. They honored Hall along with Ken Squire, who actually named their Media Excellence Award the Squire Hall Award, the two being co-recipients of the very first accolade. Hall had been suffering from failing health. He had missed a number of races in 2012 and 2013, decided that the 2014 July Daytona race would be his final race that he would call, but he did remain with the Motor Racing Network through the end of the 2015 season. Barney Hall passing away at the age of 83. Fox Sports 1, their NASCAR Race Hub show, they did a little retrospective of him as well, and I want you to take a listen to it.
Barney Hall was born in 1932 in the small, quiet town of Elkin, North Carolina, a fitting place for his legendary life to begin. Despite his accomplishments, Barney never wanted to be the center of attention. He liked to live in the background and let others take the credit. However, with his smooth voice and his unique on-air delivery, there was no escaping NASCAR's spotlight.
I got lucky, just backed into it, so to speak. Went to Bristol one weekend, and Big Bill France was there for the race that weekend, and I was doing some PA for Hal Hamrick, who was the track manager. And Big Bill come over and he said, boy, who are you? I told him I worked at a little radio station or whatever. that he said, well, we might have a place for you in NASCAR. And it just kind of started from that.
Barney called his first Daytona 500 in 1960 and began his work with MRN Radio 10 years later. In all, Barney was the voice you heard on radio for the biggest events in stock car racing for more than 50 years.
Here they come to the stripe. Richard Petty's STP Oldsmobile. Waltrip dives to the inside. Petty almost put him off in the grass, and Richard Petty will win the Daytona 500.
The highest award a media member can receive in the NASCAR Hall of Fame is named after Hall and a man he carries great respect for, another MRN alum, Ken Squire.
If ever I tried to be like another announcer to a point, it would have been Ken Squire.
The Hall of Fame is a perfect destination for Barney. After all, he is truly the voice of NASCAR. And when you listen to a race with Barney behind the mic, the status of the event had instant credibility.
Here we go at the Martinsville Speedway, and for the start, the Motor Racing Network's Barney Hall.
They're looking for the American ethanol green flag. It is about to be displayed. It is in the air, and we are underway here at Martinsville this afternoon.
It's ironic. Barney could use his words to paint a perfect picture of the scene at any racetrack on the circuit. However, there are no words that appropriately describe the man himself.
I just feel like I've been so lucky to be able to do what I enjoy doing for a living and to meet some of the best people in the world. If I can go out the door and know I've made a lot of friends in this business, that's good enough for me.
Sad to say, and you and I had the chance to meet him.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just before you had started to work over there at Talladega with me up in the PA Tower, and I wanted to do an interview. And I had initially chosen Barney Hall as the guy who I kind of targeted. And I walked over from our booth, which is right next door to Motor Racing Network's booth, and I went in and I introduced myself. And I shook hands with Barney Hall, and I shook hands with Joe Moore, and I was initially talking to Barney, and as it turned out, he went, well, Joe might actually be the better person. And as I think back upon that now, I realized that was Barney understanding I have my limitations, and as much as I might like to help you out, Joe probably is the better candidate. He's probably got the more energy and the better ability to be able to do your show.
Right.
And we saw the beginnings. Jeff Striegel. I realized there's a Jeff Spiegel in Birmingham who's on TV, so I got to make sure that I separate the two. Jeff Striegel, we saw him all of a sudden show up in the booth a couple of years ago, and we were wondering about that, and then we found out a little bit later on, that was 2014, then we found out that his last race, calling it from in the tower, was going to be at Daytona later on that year, and then we understood why Striegel was up there. He was trying to help out a little bit, number one. Number two, it was starting to introduce that transition of Barney Hall moving out of the booth. And it's you want to talk about the guy who was a pioneer for people like you, people like me, who I kind of backed into it in some ways as well, and getting into announcing, whether it was being a public address announcer or being on the radio, same way in a lot of ways as Barney Hall. There's a lot of similarities there for guys like us, but we look up to those guys. We look up to the Barney Halls. We look up to the Joe Moores. We look up to the Eli Golds. Those are the names that we all recognize so well. And in every single sport, there's that 1, 2, or 3 guys. There's that handful of guys that we all look at and go, that's who I want to emulate.
And that's we both graduated from BIM.
Yeah,
and so
that's another story entirely.
Yeah, we're BIM alumni, and when I initially started into BIM, I was kind of looking for that person that I could gravitate to, kind of like looking to see what I could do with myself. Mm-hmm. And it actually drew me into NASCAR more, because then I started to pay attention to Joe Moore and Barney Hall, Steve Burns. Sure. I mean, just guys like that I had to look up to. And ultimately, I sat down one day and I said, you know what? That's what I want to do. Right there was my decision at that point that I wanted to do NASCAR. I wanted to do motorsports. I wanted to do something like that. And the show that I did at school, that's how it was born, was because of, guys like Barney Hall.
Yep.
Those guys were inspirations. All of them are to this day.
There are certain people that cross over. It was last week, as we were leading into the AFC and the NFC championship games for the NFL on Sunday. There are certain people that have enough respect across the board to where networks at that point in time don't matter. Chris Mortensen from ESPN has been diagnosed with cancer. The guys on Fox, the guys on NBC, the guys on CBS, they all mentioned him and said, hey, we hope you get better soon. And that's the kind of thing. Barney Hall is that person. Performance Racing Network may be the direct opposition, quote-unquote, or the competition to the Motor Racing Network, but they're going to recognize Barney Hall's accomplishments because it was the Motor Racing Network that was before PRN.
Right.
They understand who blazed that path for them, and it was MRN, and they're going to recognize them, I'm sure. The IMS radio network for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they're going to talk about them because these are the guys that, especially within the racing community, and Lloyd's know this just as well as anybody else, the racing community, while you have this quote-unquote competition between the different series, even at a Talladega short track, when something happens, it's a racing community, and they're all going to come together, and all those divisions that we talk about, they all fall apart.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Barney Hall has the ultimate respect in the broadcasting industry, and it doesn't matter where you work.
And not only does he have the respect in the broadcast industry, he had the respect of every driver down there on
Absolutely.
pit road. I mean, every single one of them. There's so many tributes that were put out this week to Barney, and I think a few of them that really kind of hit home to me was when they started going back and talking to some of the, you heard some of the drivers talking about, that story couldn't have been told any better than Barney Hall making sure that was told, because that's the only way that story could have been told.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., all the guys coming up. Those are they were just as close to him, even though it was on the radio side, because of his storytelling, because of his genuine calmness. And Joe Moore said it best. He's that calm in the storm.
He is.
And
Absolutely.
he was. No matter what was going on, he was just cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, and it's fun to listen to Joe Moore and Jeff Striegel.
It is.
But it was so weird. It was so weird to go from the spring race at Talladega in 2014 to the fall race in 2014 at Talladega, and to see Barney Hall there in the beginning and not there at the end.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be very, very strange. And I don't know whether Talladega Superspeedway is going to do anything. They put out a statement. They said that, the remembrances and the honor, and they certainly, appreciate all of his accomplishments. I'm kind of wondering whether Grant Lynch is going to do something more, and I get the feeling there's something in the works.
And I think it's not just Talladega. I think every track is going to find a way this year to honor him.
Yeah.
It's just going to be really weird, because I think the last time that he was at Talladega Superspeedway, I remember, and it was just like it was yesterday. I was outside. Of course, that was when I was smoking.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, we're going to get back to that. But I was outside and I was smoking, and Barney had come out of the booth, and he had gone over to the bathroom real quick, and he was coming back. And it was just instinctive for me to go up like normal and say, "Hey, Barney, how you doing?" And he'd talk for a few moments, and then I would hold the door open for him, and I'm like, have a great day, enjoy listening to you as always.
Yeah.
And he's like, thank you. And I'd shut the door.
Yeah.
And that was like my last memory of seeing him.
Yep. So, rest in peace, Barney Hall. We will remember you and remember you well.
Always.
Fox Sports 1 then went on NASCAR's Race Hub show this weekend. Try to work out some of the pros and cons of this proposed charter system. Everybody else calls it franchising. NASCAR, for some reason, wants to go with this charter title, but whatever. I don't care. Either way. While not confirmed by NASCAR, the show purports that it would indeed cut the number of cars starting in a Sprint Cup Series race from 43 down to 40. And any car number that has attempted to qualify for each event from the beginning of the 2013 season would get a medallion. What are we suddenly taxi cabs in New York City?
It's a participation medal, Steve.
36 spots would be guaranteed through a medallion, allowing anyone without a medallion to attempt to qualify for any event that they chose. Here's the thing about this medallion system. 3 cars actually would not qualify for such a medallion, and they are heavy-hitting cars. I'm talking about cars like the 21 of the Wood Brothers Racing. They haven't been a full-time entry for almost a decade now. So Ryan Blaney would not have a medallion, despite the fact that the 21 car is a full-time car again this season. The 19 of Carl Edwards would be without a medallion. This is so weird.
No medal for you.
Yeah, because the 19 was finally brought back to full-time status in 2015. The 41 of former Cup Series champion Kurt Busch, begun in 2014 by Stewart-Haas Racing, therefore uneligible for a medallion. According to the report, NASCAR and the teams are close to an agreement on such a system, but it's unknown whether it would be instituted before the 2016 season begins. This whole thing is
a mess.
It is. I understand why they're trying to do it. They feel like if and since I mentioned we'll go Stewart Haas Racing since it's got 4 cars, now all of a sudden each of those 4 numbers, they're a franchise. And you can sell one off. So if you and I came in as the fastest hour on radio and suddenly we came into a whole lot of money and we wanted to figure out how to blow it,
lottery.
We could, we could suddenly go in and we could purchase the 4, the 14, the 10, or the 41, and they could sell it off individually, and NASCAR would recognize that. Okay? So purportedly it gives more value to the individual numbers, but it still seems so weird.
Stupid.
Yeah,
that might be another way to look at it.
I'm just gonna call it as it is. I mean, we were talking about it, and the more that I hear about it, and the more that I think about it, and the more that it just stews in my mind, this whole thing is stupid.
I don't know, and I'll get your opinion on this in just a second. As a dad who has his own racing organization, in thinking about this, the only thing that I can think of is they want to artificially prop up the value of a specific car number or a specific car, if you will. Forget the whole car number side of it. You've got 4 different stables in a Stewart Haas, a Hendrick Motorsports, trying to figure out all the other ones that are out there, but you have a specific number of cars here, whether it's 4 or 3 or 2 or even 1. They're trying to, in some ways, to me, it seems, artificially raise the value of them. I'm not so certain that, in this case, the parts end up being worth more than the whole.
Yeah, I see where you're going there.
So whose idea was this? Was this Fran's?
Yeah, this would be Brian France.
This is the dartboard and the dark blindfolded that they were throwing darts at to figure out what they could do next.
And I will say this, it was about 20 years ago when I first heard about franchising, and it was Darrell Waltrip, who was still racing at that point in time before he went up into the broadcast booth, again, mid-90s. He started talking about the idea of franchising, and he figured that it was the future of NASCAR. I'm not so certain that this is the system that we should be using, though. This doesn't seem right to me. And from a person who owns his own racing organization, it doesn't matter what level it's at. Does this make any sense to you?
Well, no, I'm still trying to figure out the medallion deal.
Don't worry, so are we.
Yeah, I mean, going from 43 to 40 cars, so at least 3 cars, supposedly, if you have a medallion participation award.
Sure, you can certainly attempt to qualify, but now we've limited your number. Instead of 7 that don't have the medallion and are guaranteed this guaranteed starting spot, now we're down to 4. So that, I guess, in some ways even more artificially increases the value because now there are even more limited spots available to you. I don't know.
It still don't make sense to me.
Yeah,
I've not got up to date on this. He's mentioned it to me about going to the 43 to the 40 car field,
Right.
and I like, what? Explain that. I don't understand that.
It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, every year the rules change, so I have to explain it every year to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Something always different.
Well, then on top of that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that puts a lot on those teams that already, it's hard enough for them to qualify as it is and
Sure.
get into the race.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be 10 times harder for those single car teams, those up and coming teams. So what does this really do for the future of the sport as in growth? I mean, we've been talking about teams coming in, new teams and such.
Right. We talked about this last week. 2 of the teams that are out there combining forces, which you wouldn't have necessarily put the 2 of them together, but Levine Family Racing and Circle Sport, one running a Ford and the other running a Chevy, all of a sudden they come together, which we'll talk about them here in just a couple more minutes. They're back in the news this week. Those 2 guys, they come together as a force. They take the Levine Family Racing number, put it on the old Circle Sport Racing Chevrolets to make sure that they forge that alliance with Richard Childress Racing. Furniture Row Racing, which Martin Truex Jr. has done a fantastic job out there.
Outstanding job.
They're flipping over from Chevys to Toyotas. They're forging a relationship as much as they can with the Joe Gibbs Racing, which has always kept things close to the vest. Those small organizations that are out there that you don't really hear a whole lot about anymore, they're having to forge that relationship with these bigger teams to make sure that they can hopefully be any kind of competitive whatsoever. Yeah. You can't go out there anymore and see a Derek Cope go out there and enter a car into the race and suddenly, holy cow, he just won the Daytona 500. Yeah. What? You know?
Yeah.
And that you just don't see that anymore.
I think they're going about this though just totally wrong. And
you and I have seen this social media.
Social media went off like a storm about this.
This is not a very popular move, but then again, a whole lot of the stuff that Brian France has been doing has been proven to be less than popular here.
I'm thinking. I mean, let's look at it this way. We're at the end of the month of January. We've already had some really weird stuff come out of there. I'm kind of wondering if maybe he's on a medication that is clogging his thought process, because we've had some really weird ones to talk about. I mean, that caution caution clock.
Yes.
I mean, where are they coming up with this? I mean, the best thing, they're just throwing darts.
I don't know.
I mean, this is just weird.
Maybe Brian France is trying to live up to his name. And we understand where Big Bill France Jr., who, Big Bill obviously is the guy, he started it all.
Yeah.
Bill France Jr., he's the guy that brought NASCAR to prominence to the point where, there were people that didn't even know what the NHL was because they were watching NASCAR.
Yeah, they took it. He took that product and went to the next level.
Yeah.
There was progression.
Yeah.
There. Boom.
Bill France Jr. made NASCAR the most popular spectator sport in the country by number of people that show up at the actual event. Sorry, NFL, you might be the most popular thing on TV, but if you look at the average the average attendance at a race versus the average attendance at an NFL event, and I'll even put your guys out there. I'm going to put Jerry World as the big one.
Okay.
Because it's the biggest capacity stadium that's out there.
Yeah.
The smallest capacity stadium, quote-unquote stadium, in NASCAR comes very close to what AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas holds.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, the smallest capacity, I think, is now, we just talked about Richmond. They're going to drop down to 66,000 people.
Yeah.
Folks, that's a decent-sized NFL stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You go out to Talladega, it's 104,000 people. That's Tuscaloosa. That's Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Yeah.
That's AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
Okay? That was Bill France Jr.
Right.
Brian France is now figuring, okay, where's my legacy? Unfortunately, your legacy might not be as rosy as you're hoping for.
You're reaching, and you're grabbing for stuff that's you think is there. But Brian, buddy, it's not there. It's a figment of your imagination, because all you're doing is that, remember, what's that theory of you take, one step forward, 4 steps back?
We've taken at least 4.
Well, we've gone about 2 steps, and now we're going about 12 back, because the fans have spoken, and they will continue to speak.
Well, NASCAR is also the owner of International Speedway Corporation. And the only reason I say that is because that's our bosses.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, our other bosses.
Yes.
Crawford Broadcasting is one. ISC is another one because we work out at Talladega Super Speedway.
Right.
I almost said short track. I don't really want to throw them under the bus, but unfortunately, my job here overrides that job there.
Yeah, right.
Except
now,
for 2 weekends a year.
And that's the thing. For us, it's not that we're throwing anybody under the bus. It's we're being unbiased.
Yeah.
We are separating ourselves from everything.
I do like
and looking at it.
I do like some of the things that he's talking about. We've talked about Daytona Rising, and that I can't wait to see the unveiling of that project on the first weekend of the actual 2016 racing season. I think it's going to look fantastic.
It is, and that's a great move.
We have seen the renovations that have taken place over the time that you and I have been at Talladega Super Speedway. We've been talking about Richmond. We've been talking about Kentucky, Phoenix, several other tracks that are all undergoing changes. I think they're doing nice jobs of renovating, updating the tracks to make them more modern and bring the amenities in that people are expecting, because they go to an AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, or a Georgia Dome, and they have these amenities in stadiums, and NASCAR understands that. But some of the things that they're doing on the track, I don't get as racers when you look at some of those things that they're doing. And NASCAR is trying to be one of those things that Garrett wants to go to. Who else have we had in studio here? Jay Schiller probably would have liked to have gone to it at one point in time or another. Cruz Skinner, who we're going to have here next week?
That's correct.
He would like to get up into that point. When does Brian France come to the point where you, Garrett, suddenly look at it and go, you know what, IndyCar might be the better way to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's kind of taking the NASCAR out of NASCAR. I mean, it's not even, I don't know, it's too much politics. I think it's becoming that way.
I think he might have hit on something.
There we go. I agree completely.
Yeah, I think he might have hit on something right there. The one thing that I would like to see Brian France change, I don't know whether I have any pull whatsoever, but you know what? I'm going to say it right now. You can keep the safety aspects of everything. You can put roll cages on there and everything. And from a guy who is built race cars, could you not keep all the safety aspects that they have put into these cars, but yet make the car look like the car that you buy off of the showroom lot?
Sure.
It's not that hard. It can't be that hard.
National Association
away
of
from
Stock
that.
Car Auto Racing.
Nothing stock about a stock car.
I get that. I know that, but for crying out loud.
Get back to the 50s and 60s kind of
Heck,
cars.
even if you go to the late 70s and early 80s, while they put fairly good-sized spoilers on the back of it, if I've got one sitting in my case in my main cave down at the house. It's the number 11 Darrell Waltrip Mountain Dew car from 1983 that he won the championship with. It looks like a Buick Regal.
Yeah, it looks like a car.
It looks like the Buick Regal that you bought off the showroom lot, except it had a spoiler out the back.
And there's some crazy fan that went out there and bought one and said, I'm going to give this thing a paint job.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because it was Harry Gant who drove the number 33 Skull Bandit Buick Regal in the mid-1980s.
Yes.
There was a guy who lived in the neighborhood that I lived in Bluff Park, which is now Hoover. I still call it Bluff Park because that's Bluff Park. In Bluff Park, there was a guy who lived within a mile of me who had a Buick Regal that he bought off of the showroom lot down in Hoover because it had the insignia that's no longer there, Don Drennan.
Yeah.
And it was painted up and looked exactly like the 33 Skull Bandit.
We've seen that at Talladega. I've seen it at Dover. There's several cars, the Monte Carlos, that look exactly like the cars because they've spent the time. They've got all the stickers. It looks like it was just rolled off the track.
You can't do that with a Chevy SS nowadays.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, but what a Toyota going to look like with them?
Yeah, well, tell me where you can get a front-engine V8 rear-wheel drive Toyota
Front-wheel
Camry.
drive, yeah.
You're not going to do it. Late model Mark is on hold. We missed him last week. We know why, and it was a very valid reason. I'll tell you during the break. In the meantime, we got to take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue talking about the 2016 season. Late model Mark, Greg, Garrett Lloyd, Dustin Harmer, myself, John Myers, all here on the fastest hour in radio.
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
The new year is all about starting fresh and with a clean slate. How about this be the year you finally put down cigarettes completely? With Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City, you can do just that. You know you've quit at the end of every cigarette. So let Wild Vapors show you how with vaping. Owners Eddie and Shelley were former smokers themselves. They started Wild Vapors because they knew they wanted to help others lay down cigarettes as well, with their own special brand formula that will help you gradually reduce your nicotine intake to eventually none at all. Their signature formula is mixed in an off-site cleanroom facility with using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out artificial sweeteners and other unnecessary chemicals. Eddie and Shelley have your solution to finally laying down cigarettes. Join the 1,000 others who have found the freedom from smoking with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City. Give them a call at 256-369-2569 or stop by one of their 2 locations in Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
I'm Joey Logano, driver of number 22 Discount Tire Ford Mustang. Underinflated tires put your car out of tune. But with properly inflated and maintained tires, your car could be in sync and ready to rock. Keep your car humming along smoothly by checking tire pressure each month and before every long journey. You'll enjoy a better ride, better gas mileage, and get the most out of your tires.
For more information, visit betiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Hello, this is Jay Schiller, 2015 track champion, Talladega Short Track. You are listening to the fastest hour on radio, 101.1 WYDE.
Back to green flag action on the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in. Fastest hour in radio rolling on here. Superstation 101 WYDE as we bring in late model Mark into the conversation. And Mark, we got to talking about, as you probably, I hope you heard, we were talking about how Fox Sports 1's NASCAR Race Hub was thinking about how this new charter or franchise system might work. And we've been trying throughout the course of the break to figure out the medallion process. Are you as confused as we are when it comes to what NASCAR is trying to do in the Sprint Cup Series here?
By the way, good morning to all of you.
Good morning, Mark.
A little bit, according to you, sir. A little bit, but I read a rather good article in Area Auto Racing News about how they're trying to do this. Do I completely get it? I ain't that bright when it comes to that. No. But,
neither are we.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. If you guys allow me, I'm gonna ramble for a few things here that I want to get off my chest.
Go for it.
First thing is the 20-minute caution rule with the Truck Series makes me want to lose my breakfast. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Finally, Mark and I agree on something.
I mean, come on now, really. You're supposed to. My wife is listening. She'll say, "You race to the dang checkered flag. When the green flag drops, you race until the checkered flag comes out. And if there's no cautions, so be it. All green races are cool. They can be boring." But I don't know, Caution Fest.
There's something.
As well.
There was something ultimately cool about it because one of the first races I ever went to at Talladega was right after 9/11, and everybody was kind of on the edge of their seats and kind of wondering what might happen. But that race, 188 laps at Talladega, caution free, and there was just something so cool about that. And I'd love to be able to see it again, but not in the Camping World Truck Series.
Nope.
There might not be any trucks left.
Also true.
Clock.
On the short track scene, I'd like to say a couple things here. I'd also like to congratulate one of our own, Ryan Priest, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified champion from 2013 and runner-up. Has got a nice full-time Xfinity ride with JB Motorsports.
Yep.
I'm happy about that.
We're going to be talking about him in a couple of minutes.
Okay, and you gentlemen are aware of what besides the Chili Bowl, the indoor season?
Indoor season?
Oh, boy, that scares me, boys. Okay, on January 2nd in Allentown, Pennsylvania, in their arena, they had a sold-out crowd with an indoor midget race.
Oh.
Tonight is the Gamblers Classic at the Boardwalk Hall and Casino in Atlantic City. They have over 100 entries for that. And that's last night, tonight, and then next weekend is the Battle of Trenton. The indoor midget season in the northeast is quite impressive, and I just wonder if you guys were aware of this. But
I'm going to have to look more
medallions.
into it. Yeah.
No medallions.
No medallions. Yeah, I'm going to have to look more into it, truth be told, yeah.
You know, and another thing is the NHRA, they pulled the one that really ticked me off as well, breaking tradition, is when you set a national record, you had to back it up, within 1%.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to back it up. If you bust the national record on a single run, it is the national record. But the kicker is you don't get any extra points, which is absolutely rubbish.
Okay, so you don't have the problem, because we talked about that last week, and they were talking about how the advancements in scoring and timing have come up to the point where they feel like they can certify that pretty much automatically. The fact that they can certify it automatically is not your problem. It comes up that you don't get any extra points for having broken a record?
Correct. And it's always been
okay.
20 points, and you used to be able to get points if you set a national speed record. Well, when they had all the issues and the cars were going 330 in the quarter mile and all that, the insurance companies kind of buckled a little bit, and I can understand that. But, of course, you boys know in this next coming 3 weeks in February, Florida, besides Daytona, blows up with the new series of the World Series of Stock Car Racing in New Smyrna. The Lucas Oil Series open up at East Bay. They're doing their thing in Georgia. The sprints come down. Florida is absolutely a boomer. The dirt modifieds, Revolution, all that stuff. That's a heck of a deal. Got a lot of buddies going down there. Have you ever been down to the Florida Speed Weeks besides Daytona? Any of you?
I've heard of it, but I have not been able to.
Not yet. It's on the list, though.
I have a long list.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yes, and it continues to grow.
Oh, and one other thing, I did hear the Barney Hall thing. Rest in peace, my man. Some of my heroes in announcing, 2 of them come from drag racing. One of them was Steve Evans, and then the voice of drag racing, Don Lundberg. Chris Economaki was my pavement hero. And on the short track scene, the guy that I would call my teacher, mentor, the late, great Perry Holman from Talladega, was absolutely a gem and a hero to me.
Yep.
But
very cool. Very cool.
Did I hear a little bit saying something with Mr. Greg No Luck Lloyd and his boy? Did I hear? I just heard a bit of piece. Is there a crate light model in somebody's future?
Ooh, did you hear that?
I caught a bit of it. Who's going to be driving it?
Well, we both going to be driving it. This is sort of a deal here. We're going to get Gary a lot of seat time in it, and maybe toward the end of the year we'll turn him loose. But we got to get seat time in this. It's a big difference between hot shots. So we got to get seat times and a lot more cost if we smack a wall. And so seat time is very important.
He looked over at you on that one.
Yeah, really. I noticed that too.
Yes, we bought one.
I want to give an attaboy to Garrett. I know losing the ice bowl late in the race was a heartbreaker, but young man, I was very proud of you, and you drove your butt off. You have nothing to be ashamed about. You drove very strong. You had a good weekend.
Yeah.
You keep your chin up, and I think you should drive the crate before Dad hops.
Yeah, I might be the one that smacks the wall.
Anyways, guys, I got to run. Have a good one. I got to go throw some more chips on the shelf. God bless y'all, and we'll talk to you next week.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care,
Thanks
Mark.
so much. Appreciate it. He does bring some interesting, viewpoints to it.
He does.
But here's the thing. Exactly what he was talking about when it came to this charter system. We're confused.
Yeah.
We don't get
It's a big bowl of confusion, and I don't want to bite.
I understand. All right, let's get back into the racing side of things, shall we?
Yeah.
David Reagan, congratulations. Got a 2016 ride. BK Racing announced he's going to become the driver, one of their two drivers in the organization. He's going to become the senior driver alongside 2015 rookie Matt DiBenedetto. Reagan had a fairly eventful 2015. Yeah, DiBenedetto. Yeah, he was. Reagan, pretty eventful 2015. Started off with Front Row Motorsports, left there, joined Joe Gibbs Racing because he was filling in for the injured Kyle Busch for two races numbers 2 through 10. He then moved over to the now defunct Michael Waltrip Racing to complete the season, filling in for Brian Vickers, who was out because of blood clots. So when was the last time we had a driver at the Cup Series race for 3 different organizations in 1 year?
Wow. I can't think of one.
Pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay, yay. Good
David
answer.
Reagan breaking new ground here. Brings a lot of Cup experience with him. 326 starts in all. Has 27th place in points finish last year through 3 rides, which is actually somewhat impressive because Ford, Toyota, and then another Toyota in 3 vastly different organizations. He did claim 1 top 5 finish. That was in the Joe Gibbs 18. Ron Devine, who's the owner of BK Racing and made his money through being a Burger King franchisee himself. He bought most of the old Michael Waltrip Racing cars, which Reagan feels is only going to strengthen the cars that BK Racing has in their stable. David Reagan will have sponsorship from Burger King and also feature sponsorship from Dr. Pepper for select races as well.
Yeah.
Last week, mentioned Circle Sport Racing, Levine Family Racing, combined their efforts into one organization. They're going to take over running Circle Sport's Chevy SS stock cars, keeping the Levine Family Racing's number 95 from 2015. We know the car mainly going to be driven by Michael McDowell, but selected events will have Ty Dillon behind the wheel. But until Thursday, it wasn't known who the crew chief was going to be. Well, we now know, and suddenly I've lost it, so wherever it is. Dave Winston is going to be filling in on that role. 15 years worth of NASCAR experience coming to the War Wagon. Winston started as an engineer for Roush Fenway, worked with Greg Biffle, Brian Vickers, Kurt Busch, and Jamie McMurray while there. In all, he helped Roush Fenway drivers claim 18 wins, 7 pole positions, and 51 top 5 results in the Sprint Cup Series, so at least they got a good guy coming up on the War Wagon.
Now, if they had they have the good guy. They have the good crew chief. Michael McDowell, he's not the greatest thing in the world.
Burned things up yet.
But he's not the worst driver in the world.
That's true. You could do a lot worse.
But if he could get in where it's just full time, nobody else stepping in or whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think those two could be a good team together.
Yeah, I think what we're probably going to find is Michael McDowell is going to be out during the restrictor plate events, Talladega, Daytona Summer, Talladega Fall, if I were to guess. But that, again, that's a pure guess on my part. Yeah. I don't know about the 2 road course tracks because those are always kind of wild cards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of others. Maybe Indy?
Possibly.
I don't know at this point in time because they haven't announced what the split's going to be. But from what we're being told, the majority of the races are going to be run by Michael McDowell.
Give him some seat time.
Yeah. Keep that in mind. There are no changes to the 2016 Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. The soft drink manufacturer announced they re-upped with Team Penske, means Joey Logano remains a part of the family in 2016 and for the foreseeable future. Contract is termed only as multi-year. They're going to have to figure out something next year, though, because one of their Coca-Cola family racing drivers retires.
Yes.
I hope they come up with some better commercials. Them in a van down by the river.
At the gas station?
Yeah,
the one at the gas station was pretty good.
That was okay.
Because they're sitting there staring at the guys in the convenience store going, when are they coming out? And the guys in the convenience store, do they expect us to do it?
But it was like Tony doing the little checklist. Greg Biffle stole my Coca-Cola or whatever.
Yeah.
Several sips were taken. The thoughts thing.
And then there was the one, who was it that was holding the GPS while they were on the track? Was that Logano who was telling Tony Stewart, okay, go up here, turn left, go up here, turn left?
Turn left.
That one was...
That one's wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, really. All right. Go Fast Racing, they're planning to return in 2016. Got a part-time effort featuring drivers like Terry and Bobby Labonte over the past few seasons. Part-time effort this year, going to see Jeffrey Earnhardt run 8 races up from the Xfinity Series.
right.
That'll start with the March Bristol race. Actually, most of the events that the young Earnhardt going to drive is going to be on tracks a mile long or shorter. But he will get to run at Michigan in August. He'll get Kentucky, 1.5 miles in July. For all 8 of his events, keep this in mind, the number 32 Ford Fusion, remember that, going to be sponsored by Keen Parts and CorvetteParts.net.
Corvette, driving a Ford.
I don't make this stuff
Earnhardt.
up.
I was about to say-
I just report it.
And an Earnhardt and a Ford.
Yeah, Earnhardt
and a Ford with
Corvette
CorvetteParts.net on the hood as the sponsor.
Love that.
Yeah, what other events the team's going to enter? Not
Hello,
yet, no.
cue the Benny Hill music.
Yeah. And they had Bobby
I'm
Labonte.
sure Jeffrey don't care what he's in.
Probably
I'm
not.
he's in something.
I don't care. Put me in a car,
Yeah.
and I don't care who the sponsor is.
But love to see him on the track. Love to see him.
Last
I don't care
year,
if he's
Terry
in a
Labonte was
Toyota.
out. Bobby Labonte came in, drove the number 32 during the restrictor plate races.
Yes.
That hasn't been confirmed again, but I would assume that's probable. And then, obviously, you got these 8 races here. So Go Fast Racing is starting to at least increase their presence at tracks. Hopefully, it'll mean bigger and bigger things for them.
But they got to get a medallion.
Yeah.
Not they're a part-time effort. They can't.
Oh, that's true. No medallion for you, so you got to
Nope,
qualify.
you're going to have to qualify on time, Bubba. Good luck. Down to the Xfinity Series, where JD Motorsports with Gary Keller has announced their driver lineup. This was something that was being alluded to by no less than late model Mark there. They're going to field 3 full-time rides this season, all of them Chevy Camaros. Ross Chastain's going to drive the number 4. Brian Berry is his crew chief. The aforementioned Ryan Preece comes up from the Whelen Modified Series, where he won the championship recently. He's going to take over the number 01. I wonder if he's going to have that. No, he can't do the General Lee paint scheme, can he? Because that Confederate flag is not going to fly.
Oh, no, that would be... No, we can't do that.
Okay, but either way, he's going to get the
Someone.
01. Zach McGowan, crew chief there. Final ride going to be taken by series veteran Eric McClure. He's going to pilot the number 0. Todd Myers going to be the crew chief for the season opener. Again, that's a 1-race deal right now. Eric McClure, Todd Myers in that 0 in the season opener. JD Motorsports says that they're seeking a driver-sponsor combo or some multiple combinations if needed because they want the 0 to be full-time. Apparently, McClure only has that 1-race deal. He does bring Reynolds Wrap as his sponsor.
Yeah, I was confused. Hefty and Reynolds Wrap?
Apparently, that's only 1 race.
I mean, they've been such a great sponsor for him, though.
Yeah. Apparently, that's only a 1-race deal, at least for now. So we'll see whether that might expand out for him. At least they
I
appear
hope so.
open for it.
It'd be easy to find that truck, the orange and blue.
Phew, yeah, no kidding. That
We
thing's
would take
bright.
a 1-race deal with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Garrett Lloyd is interested
Yes.
right now.
One
So
race.
Let's
We just
see. Let's
One
see
race.
here. If they are interested in a 1-race deal, they need a sponsor. I need to talk to the boss.
What?
Put Fastest Hour on Radio up on a Xfinity Series car.
Yes. John, make a phone call.
We got-
He reaches
John's like, what?
we have a driver.
We have a driver. Because it's not going to be
We got
us.
a driver. We can do the sponsor.
We need a car.
The car's there.
No, you can build the car. No, the car is there.
Hey, it's just a thought, boss.
Good thought, though.
All right, Jeremy Clements and Clements Racing back in the Xfinity Series in 2016, according to the social media page. They will remain a single-car entity. Were won the number 51 on a Chevrolet Camaro. This is their 6th season of racing. They do not at this time have a primary sponsor, but they do plan to run the entire 2016 schedule. They did show some promise last year. He claimed 13th in final standings. He nabbed a single top 10 results, but he got 9 top 15 finishes. But again, finding that sponsor, that's a difficult thing. You, Dad, you know this. You've tried to find sponsors. It's not the easiest thing to do.
That's the hardest thing in the world to do right there is find a sponsor. And every now and then, usually sponsors come by just somebody approaching you.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I like to put my name on your car. I don't know. So many people is ruining through the years of sponsoring cars and not getting back what they expect from it. Which, to me, you know, a lot of people sponsor cars is on all these NASCARs, and it's just a tax write-off.
Yeah.
You know, basically a tax write-off and free advertisement for 2 or 3 hours, you know. But that is hard, and I don't even ask anymore. It just becomes a headache, and it's like sort of having to beg, you know. And so if we can't do it ourselves, we just don't do it, you know. And every now and then I have a few, and I do have a few that's come on board, but they're not nothing big, but
it helps in any way, shape, or form, right?
And he touches on a really good thing, and that, with sponsors wise, you know, they have all these high expectations, you know, right off the bat. That, this is going to happen overnight. You know, you got to stay with it. You got to stick with it, and you got.
It takes time for results to come out.
I mean, it's just like life. You're going to get out what you put into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you can't have the over expectations of it happening overnight. A lot of people, they just don't have that patience. Patience is so far gone anymore.
Yeah, it really is. Witness coaching changes in any kind of sport and driver changes in NASCAR. Obico Racing, you know, there's the good side and there's the bad side of this. We're talking about a lot of these teams that now want to advance into a full-time status here in racing, and I think it's great, but again, you're slicing that pie of sponsorships smaller and smaller and smaller as you go along, so it's got kind of almost an inverse effect. But Obico Racing has announced they're prepared to run full-time 2016 with one driver. In 2015, the team fielded the number 97, utilizing several drivers. They ended up finishing 30th in owners' points in the freshman campaign. They're going to grow from 1 to 2 cars. They've announced Harrison Rhodes will claim 1 seat. Rhodes, who's only 22, will drive a 0 car in 2015. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. He claimed 24th in final standings. The other driver's car not yet known. The reason I'm not sure how the other 0 is going to work out, because that was the one that JD Motorsports said that they were going to put Eric McClure in the season opener. We can't have 2 zeros on the track.
This is true, but that was the one race deal too. So
they said that they both want to be full time.
Well, they just have to do what they do at Talladega Short Track. Put the number in the letter.
Put an X.
There you go.
Put an X beside it. Yeah,
Zero, double zero.
X car.
Yeah, and I think it probably would be more likely that one would be a 0, the other a 00.
Yeah,
it's possible.
That's happened before.
And then we get this one: Rick Ware Racing. Try that 3 times fast. Also prepping 2 full-time rides for 2016 in Xfinity. The third car going to be a little bit more of some of the more high-profile races in the upcoming season. So they're going to have the number 15 will be in the honor of the team's 25th year in business. The second car will be the number 25, and then you've got that number 17, which will be the part-time entry. And then this great announcement: we're 2 weeks away from them hitting the track, and 3 weeks away from the actual Xfinity Series race.
Yeah.
Yes, not fast enough though.
Drivers for the season. Drivers for the season for Rick Ware Racing have not been announced yet.
I tell you every single week that they're doing it like Formula One, because it's like, surprise.
Yeah.
It's like the truck's on, it's out there, and they're going out to put the name of the driver on before it goes out to race.
Yeah.
And they get talked about a lot.
That's right.
They get
held on with a very bright Sharpie.
That's a good point. There's a lot more publicity there when you don't have the driver name on.
Wait until the day of the race. See who your driver's going to be.
Everybody's going to be talking. Nick Saban, he waits to the first of the year to name his quarterback.
Here's my quarterback.
That's true. Okay.
We'll see a pit crew member out on pit road with a big bright Sharpie putting the name of the driver on there.
You spelled it wrong. Oh, crap.
Rick Ware has also announced he will field entries in several other series, including the Camping World Truck Series. They'll run a limited schedule there. Future plans to grow that organization to at least 1 full-time entry in the trucks. According to the organization's press release, drivers and sponsorship for the Truck Series will be announced in the coming weeks as well. Bolin Motorsports has announced they've hired driver Jordan Anderson to be their 2016 pilot. Anderson, likely best known as a driver, came to prominence on social media for his nonstop travel across the country just to drive in as many events as he could for whatever team owner would have him. Anderson will debut at Daytona next month for the season opener, driving the number 66 Chevy Silverado. Sponsorship from his hometown, Columbia, South Carolina's Tourism Board.
I like that, because I could just see a guy now going to each track with a sign that says, "We'll drive for food."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that an idea?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As long as I get to drive and eat.
And seat time.
Yeah, seat time and food.
Seat time, food.
He'll sleep in the car. For those who are already confused by a story we did in late November about changing the name of the annual Eldora Speedway Camping World Truck Series event, which went from the Mud Summer Classic, where Mud Summer was one word, into a 2-word Mud Summer Classic.
Yes.
Now NASCAR has changed it again.
Why?
Yeah, this signals their involvement with social media, as the former Mud Summer Classic will now be known as #Eldora.
Oh, no.
No.
Or as NASCAR put it on their 2016 schedule for the series, quote, the #Eldora at Eldora Speedway, unquote.
Love Eldora.
I'm not saying a word. I'm just going to leave it at that. Steve, I can't. Can we move on?
Moving on. For the second time, a Brad Keselowski-driven number 2 Dodge Charger has crossed the auction block at the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction in Scottsdale, Arizona. It happened Thursday, as a matter of fact. The car ended up being sold the first time with proceeds going to charity. Happened again this time with the owner putting the car across the block with the proceeds going to benefit the Paralyzed Veterans of America. The car has a winning pedigree. It came from the 2012 championship season. The car had run at Texas Motor Speedway. It sold this time around for $150,000. The very same car was sold for $500,000 back in 2013. All the money then went to the NASCAR Foundation. The buyer at that point in time, after spending $500,000, immediately donated it back to the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction so they could raise more money.
Because he realized whose name was on it.
Probably. Well, I do like the fact that they do this. And Barrett-Jackson does a really cool thing. If you put a car up there for auction, as opposed to if I go up and I try and sell my car and I want to sell it and you end up buying it and it's a private transaction, so to speak, Barrett-Jackson gets commission off of that.
Right.
They do not charge commission on a charity car. So all of the money goes to that charity.
That is a good thing. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
They do a really cool job of that. Daytona International Speedway has announced it has finalized their upgrade of safer barrier around that 2.5-mile superspeedway. With the work completed, all the inside and outside walls of the track have been covered in that steel and foam energy reduction barrier save for the pit lane wall. Track president Joey Chitwood III had promised the night that Kyle Busch injured both of his legs in the 2015 Xfinity Series season opener that all the walls would be covered as soon as he could make it happen, and he did in a year's time.
They did a great job, but here's the one thing.
Yeah.
What car is going to hit the pit road wall? Because where they don't think it's going to happen is always where it happens.
Oh, yeah, and we have seen that before.
We have. Casey Kane.
Pocono.
Yeah. Pocono.
Yeah. Pocono had 3 cars in the weekend, 1 in the race and 2 in practice, that came off of turn 3, because there are only 3 turns at Pocono, for those of you that are freaking out about why did you only say turn 3 and hitting pit road? It's Pocono. It's a triangle. And 3 cars came around turn 3 and lost control and slammed into the inside pit wall.
Yes. So now that's my only concern. What driver is going to hit the pit road wall at the
Here's the thing, and we've seen it up close. We've gone down and we've looked at the difference between the concrete wall and then you have those blocks of foam there and then you have the outside steel wall.
Right.
That's a big jump of about 2 feet, give or take.
Yeah.
Then you got the pit wall itself, which is 8 inches to a foot wide, somewhere in that area. That's a long jump for a pit crew member.
It is. I mean, I agree on that point.
Something will probably end up having to be done to protect the drivers when it comes to pit wall, but and the pit crew members, quite frankly. But I don't know a safer barrier is that answer. Something else is going to have to be figured out to allow the pit crew. From your aspect as a racer, what would you think? I mean, safer barrier when you having to jump 2 to 2.5 feet, that seems an awful long jump, but there's got to be a safety factor built into it, right?
Just build a stronger wall.
Okay.
Without the safety barrier, let the safety barrier, that's a driver's problem but to protect the pit crew, just build a better wall.
Okay.
Garrett?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, to make it more safer, I just think that the pit crew members need to be able to jump longer. Jump farther.
Okay, here's our new Olympic sport. We can't do it for 2016 because we're already there. But for 2020, I have it. The long jump holding a Goodyear Eagle.
He can clear a whole car.
Okay, think about it this way. When we see these guys on pit road and they're getting ready to service the cars, they're already standing on the wall.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they're already standing there. They really don't have to do a lot of jumping back and forth.
No, now it's not the long jump. It's the high jump with a Goodyear Eagle.
Exactly.
Well, put a platform on top of the wall, from the safer barrier to the wall. Put a platform.
That's a good idea.
Might be the way to do it.
That might be the thing.
You can stand on it.
Yeah, that might be the way to go.
Yeah, but when somebody hits that wall, that platform is going to break and stuff. It's going to be red flag.
Stop it.
Come on, man.
Stop it.
Thanks for ruining
it. You just took his idea and you
ruined it.
Yeah.
You ruined it.
Make that top part a safer barrier part. Toughen up the whole 250 pounds.
He's the one that's going to look at the car afterwards just like on Days of Thunder, and go, oh, look, a part or side we don't have to fix.
I don't want you to get cocky. It's kind of strange we actually mentioned the Olympics. Yeah, kick it. I don't want you to get cocky, man. Mention the 2016 being an Olympic year. Brazil hosting the Summer Games beginning in August, and that will go from August 5th to August 21st. NBC, as they have for several of the games now, going to be the TV host, and that will interfere with some racing coverage. Some of the events that were initially tabbed for the NBC Sports Network, including the August 7th Cup race at Watkins Glen, they're going to be moved over to NBC-affiliated cable networks. We last year freaked out about the fact that one of the Formula One events actually showed up on CNBC.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? CNBC will get the Watkins Glen event, the race. That'll be the biggest rating CNBC has ever gotten.
Ever.
Yeah.
And never happened again.
Yeah, really. The USA Network going to get the Bristol Night Race on August the 19th. Of course, we're going to let you know where to find all those races, because once you get to that point, not only will they have NASCAR at NBC, they will also have all season long IndyCar and Formula One. All of the, well, I take that back. Formula One will not be affected. That will be their month off.
That's true.
So Formula One not affected, but NASCAR and IndyCar will be. That's why we
You just throw them under the bus for their month off?
That's why I always throw them under the bus for a month off in the middle of the season.
I was just making sure that the people out there heard that. Because you always do. I love that fact.
Yeah, exactly. All right, one more note here, and then we're going to take a break and move on to IndyCar stuff. Bristol Motor Speedway, 160,000 seats big. It is a racing stadium. It's actually going to become a football stadium for the first time ever. Going to be hosting the Tennessee Volunteers taking on the Virginia Tech Hokies to kick off the 2016 college football season September the 10th. All the previous records of attendance for any college football game will officially be obliterated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gone.
160,000.
And it won't be just football fans there either. It'll probably be racing fans too.
I got to admit, there's a part of me that would like to go.
Yeah.
Just to be a part of that.
Yeah, just to be there to see it happen.
But here's the thing. Now we found out. They're actually going to host two.
Mm-hmm.
Because the very next weekend, they're going to keep it in football trim, and they're going to host a contest between the East Tennessee State team. I don't know what they're...
I was about to say, where's it at?
I don't know who they are.
What about having the national championship game?
That would be kind of fun. But East Tennessee State's located nearby Johnson City, Tennessee. They're going to be taking on Western Carolina. That probably would be the easier ticket to get.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, East Tennessee State and Western Carolina.
Probably $5-10 person.
Yeah. So then they'll end up having to tear all that stuff down because they got a night race coming up shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So there you go. We're going to transition over to open wheel racing with IndyCar news coming up next as the Lloyds continue to sit in and wonder why in the world we do this.
Tony Stewart wins the Cobalt Tools 400.
This is Tony Stewart here to tell you about a way veterans and service members can get on the fast track to well-deserved benefits. It's called eBenefits, a website created by VA and DoD that gives veterans, service members, and families instant access to more than 40 benefits and services. It's a way to serve those who have served us. To get started, just go to www.ebenefits.va.gov or just do a search for VA eBenefits.
Brought to you by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
The only show that covers NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. The fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Hey, welcome back in. We have run through an hour of the fastest hour in radio, and that means we only have 30 more minutes. It's hard to believe we're already at that point.
It's kind of like overtime.
Yes, we like overtime. It's a good thing. Got the Lloyds in, Greg and Garrett, and you guys gearing up for a 2016 season out there at Talladega, and we have already made the announcement where we're going to do it again. You're going to get some time up in a little bit more powerful car and a bigger series.
Yes, so we have purchased a it could be a crate car or a sportsman car, a late model, but just depends on what kind of motor we get. So the main key is seat time. So we got to, because I've been running front wheel drives, got to get me accustomed to a rear wheel drive car. So just practice makes perfect.
That's a fun transition to make, though. It really is.
I'm hoping we get a chance to come out there and watch some practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been told that we're going to get thrown into a car or two as well.
Yeah.
Which you want to talk about slamming into some safer barrier.
Oh yeah.
That could be interesting.
I'm going to see how Steve really feels about me that day.
Well, that might make me rethink about the car.
No, I'll be real honest. It will be the first time that I've ever put a race car out on any kind of dirt whatsoever, and done any speed.
A lot different than asphalt.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine by the name of Gary who put me in one out on Cumberland, and I was nervous like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I didn't go very fast at all.
I'm going to tell you flat out right now.
That's
You're
right.
gonna win.
Hey, if you ain't gonna
think?
if you ain't gonna go flat out, I ain't gonna put you in it.
Well, I'm going to try, but I'm going to build myself up to it. Okay, so
It's all out or nothing.
Yeah,
I'm the
I'm going to have to
asphalt
build
guy.
myself up to it. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity. And when it happens, we might have to set that up with Late Model Mark, because that might actually be entertaining enough to sell tickets to, just to see how bad we are. But
Can I not show up?
But when it comes down to racing, we've talked about it. You guys, there's always that help that you need, and you guys have your help as well, and that's of course the sponsors that
Yes.
help you out.
Yes.
By all means, give them some press and some love.
Yeah. Oh yes. My cousin out of Sylacauga, he builds my engines. We've had a little bit bad luck this year with the engines because he's a drag racer, so he's not accustomed to building the round track cars. Motors. So.
He needs to build some for more endurance.
So he's
We need
learning
to go longer than a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
He's learning, so it's Duke engines out of Wilgufka, which a lot of people probably don't know where Wilgufka is, but it's just
I know what
outside of
Wilgufka
Sylacauga.
is.
It's right outside of Sylacauga. Anyway, Harvey Duke Jr. is his name, and he's a big help. He's been really a big help with us on engines this year, and hopefully a lot better this year. And then we got the welding shop, and Bobo Dean. He helps me out, and he does a lot, and that helps a lot too because he's a good welder. So that helps a lot. Anybody else?
We also have Jeff Cofield from Cofield Racing Starters.
Cofield Racing Starters. Yeah, Jeff Cofield. He helps us out. Oh yeah, he really helps us out a lot. Sorry about that, Jeff.
They keep talking about putting some little punk radio show on there.
Oh yeah, and then our big sponsor this year. Yeah. That little punk radio station that just keeps letting us come back, and I don't know why, but
That's all right. We don't either, but
the
we have fun doing it.
Fastest hour in radio with Steve and Dustin. We are glad to bring them aboard on our car.
We appreciate
I'm
it.
still confused on why I'm still here every week.
Well, that's all right. I'm still kind of wondering how I still have a job. Thanks, boss. I really appreciate it. That said, we've got our own sponsor that we got to thank, and they're guys that have helped you, and they've helped John, and, well, they're helping out other people as well.
That's right. 16 months now. I want to say it right off the bat. 16 months, cigarette-free for me. John,
All
working on
right.
it over there.
Yeah.
So I feel good. I got my voice back. But all thanks to the wonderful help of Eddie and Shelley Bowman down at Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and the Walmart Shopping Center, and down in Alexander City, right there at the Victory gas station. Right there next to that, you'll find the other shop down in Alexander City, right next to the campus of Central Alabama Community College. You want to talk about some great folks. We talk about them each and every week. We tell you about how the fact that they've got so much knowledge. They know their ins, their outs. They know everything there is to know about what you have in your hand. And when you come into that shop, you're going to, when you leave, it's going to work perfectly. You're going to know everything from top to bottom, inside and out, about your mods, whatever it is you're going in there to get, whether you're going in to get an unregulated box, you're going in there to get something like I have, the X Cube 2. I mean, the thing is amazing. And you know, if you got to know anything about the batteries, or if it's what a pass-through device, pass-through being something that you plug into the wall, you can charge it, and you can actually vape at the same time. For those of us who have gone through our batteries, I have, and it is very helpful. But anything when it comes to juice, mods, equipment, whatever the case may be, cotton, wire, you have got to get down to see Shelly and Eddie at Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City. Give them a call today. Pick their brain. I guarantee you, any question that you ask, you're going to have more information tossed at you than you can shake a stick at. Call them today, 256-369-2569. Visit them on Facebook, facebook.com/wild.vapors.5. But definitely, Valentine's Day's coming up.
You got that someone that you love
If you're-
that you know that you want to help them get off of the cigarettes?
Like we were talking about the other night, if you're tired of kissing an ashtray every day, I'm telling you, this is the way you can break the news gently to your significant other, whether it be your wife,
Here.
husband, or whatever.
Settle
I'm
him.
tired of licking an ashtray. I'm tired of kissing an ashtray. Please put down the cigarettes and start vaping today. Set yourself free with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City.
All right.
I bet I got a new idea for them.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that off the air.
Vapor snuff.
Might be an interesting product.
Shelly would probably go after that in a heartbeat and go, I'm wondering.
She'll start working on it.
I got the patent on that.
To Verizon IndyCar Series Racing and the team that last season was known as CFH Racing, which was a combination of current driver Ed Carpenter, along with former driver Sarah Fisher and her husband Wink Hartman, going to undergo a name change. It is now Ed Carpenter Racing. Carpenter takes over sole ownership of the organization. Hartman continues to run his Kansas-based Hartman Oil. Sarah going to turn to focus on her company, which is Speedway Indoor Karting. They're going to be opening an Indianapolis location this spring. Hartman admitted it was because of the drop in oil prices, made running his company and then a race team untenable. At this time, Ed Carpenter Racing slated to remain a two-car operation. Joseph Newgarden going to continue to drive for the organization on a full-time basis. The second car, a combo effort. Ed Carpenter will continue to drive the second IndyCar racer on oval courses, Texas, Iowa, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then he'll turn the car over to another, as yet undetermined driver on road and street courses. The driver yet to be named. Carpenter said he's talking to several others as the season approaches. He's got a little bit more time. They've got until late March to figure out who that's going to be, but their season opener is on a street course, so going to have to figure that out quick. When the annual 24 hours, Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona kicks off, this weekend. Going to be a heavy Verizon IndyCar Series presence. No less than 9 drivers from the American Open Wheel Racing Series going to be participating. Those include Chip Ganassi Racing drivers Scott Dixon and Tony Kanaan. It's going to be an all Ganassi team effort there with the NASCAR drivers Kyle Larson and Jamie McMurray teaming up with Dixon and Kanaan to try to attempt to defend their overall win. Also participating, Graham Rahal. He's going to be driving a car that he co-owns with his father, Bobby. Also driving for teams in different divisions, Sebastian Bourdais, Jack Hawksworth, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Simon Pagenaud, up-and-comer Spencer Piggott. An interesting note on one more who's going to be running. It's Schmidt-Peterson Motorsport driver Mikhail Elation. He overcame wet weather conditions Thursday, claimed the pole for the Daytona Prototype Division and the overall pole for the event. It's going to get underway this afternoon. If you're listening to our live airing Saturday morning, 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:40 p.m. Central Time is when the green flag drops. Select coverage. They're not going to go the entire 24 hours, but select coverage will happen on Fox Sports 1.
I would love to be able to just watch that thing from start to finish on TV.
Yeah.
I talked to Eli Gold because Motor Racing Network has the radio coverage of that. Right. And Eli Gold is one of the drivers that's there. And I sat there and I said, do you actually sit up there and you do that? You can't do the entire 24 hours, can you? He said, well, I've thought about it, but no, I can't. We go for about 6-hour shifts and then step out. 6 hours behind a microphone calling a race. That's impressive.
Yeah.
We've done it.
We've had breaks. We get to turn it over to MRN and Sprint Vision.
Rain.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's
I tell you this much.
That's tough.
I think it's going to be the defending overall champs last year. I think it's going to be Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah.
They're always
doesn't
strong.
surprise me.
They always find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be our overall.
They have
winner
a
this
great
year.
roster of
They
drivers.
do.
They really do. I mean, the guys that he has that run in the Tudor United Sports Car Series in and of itself, much less the guys that he's pulling over from IndyCar and NASCAR to team up on a car. Yeah. It's impressive.
And the communication between those guys is already great, so they can tell each other, especially if they've got them set up a certain way where they can let them know as they're getting in.
But you think about it. You go from Scott Dixon to Tony Kanaan. Those are 2 different driving styles. And then you go from 2 open-wheel drivers into 2 NASCAR drivers, and Kyle Larson and Jamie McMurray have different setups as well, which we've talked about in NASCAR. For all 4 of those drivers to share a car with their vastly different driving styles, that's impressive.
It is. Oh, yes. It's hard enough to get a setup right for one driver. Now you got 4 drivers.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Formula One Grand Prix Drivers Association calling for closed cockpits, something that we said last week is being looked at by the sport's governing body, the FIA, but they aren't moving too quickly on it. The Grand Prix Drivers Association requests not only the implementation of closed cockpits, they want them in effect for the 2017 racing season. Right now, all F1 cars are going to have improved safety measures for 2016, but closing the cockpits is still something of a concern in that sport, and IndyCar as well, as worries about the driver being trapped under certain conditions have been expressed. A former Formula One driver, he's the current president of the GPDA, Alex Wirtz, who, by the way, he will be driving in the 24 hours of Daytona this weekend. He says he sees no reason for any major concerns by saying these words, quote, obviously structural changes are required to the chassis, but with almost 1 year lead time, I don't see any technical person speaking against such substantial safety improvements, especially given the last big accidents in open-wheel racing involving head injuries. At this time, the FIA kind of leading towards one concept. It's entitled Halo. It features two protective arms that are above the driver's head. They meet in the middle and supported by a central strut in front of the driver, similar to a face mask in the National Football League. More testing is being done. I've seen this.
Yes,
this
me
isn't
too.
like I used to play football. I remember the face mask that was sitting right in between the eyes. You have the ability to focus around it. You're driving.
Yeah.
Putting a post right in front of you. It's got to be distracting, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, a little
I
bit.
just put bars in his window on his car right there, and he says, Daddy, you got them right in the middle. It's distracting.
It's just...
But once you start racing, I said, once you get on track, start racing, I said, you won't even pay no attention to them bars. You know, football helmet's a little bit closer.
Is it...
You know,
would it be different? And I don't know whether you've actually had the chance to go out, because Formula One does nothing but run on road courses or street courses. Would it be more distracting on a road course, or do you think less so because you're constantly looking from
to
right
the left
to left?
right, yeah.
Do you think it might be less?
I don't think it would bother me, but
I think
after what happened with the Indycar,
yeah,
that they got to go
Justin
with
Wilson.
that.
Yeah, something's got to happen. Well, the
they
other
got nothing there. They got nothing there. They got to have something.
The other one that they're talking about is what they call the jet fighter concept, which is basically you get this, I would assume, plexiglass canopy or Lexan canopy that goes over it.
Kind
and
of like one of those speedboats, like they have over the speedboats.
I think the major concern on that, though, is if you happen to flip the car over, can the driver get out?
Yes.
So that's the major problem that the FIA has. What's going to happen if you flip the car over, you land on its roof? How are you going to be able to get the driver out quickly?
Okay, to go off of that, the concept of the car right now, what they have is already hard. It's hard enough for them to get out on their own when they're upside down.
Sure.
So, in reality, if as long as they could maybe come up with some sort of, granted, take it for what it's worth, an ejection system off the sides where they could actually blast out the door, the side doors or something along those lines. I mean,
There
that's a
you go.
major chassis adjustment.
Yeah.
But seeing the picture of the halo aspect, I do agree with the one right there in the center. But they could always do that double, for the football term,
put it out
the
to the sides.
bulls, the off to the side.
Yeah.
That way, you've got your view to the right, you've got your view to left, you've got your view to center.
Maybe.
And then come up with something that they have an escape hatch, so to speak, when they're upside down. Because right now, upside down, they can't get out anyway.
Yeah.
Just make it big enough, where it don't distract the view, but it at least would keep like a tar,
or any sort of debris. Yeah.
From hitting you in the head.
Yeah. It needs something like that.
They get something like that. Yeah.
The Manor Formula One team continues to bring in former F1 experience. They're hiring new people in all kinds of places in an attempt to score more than just the 2 championship points that they've accumulated since joining the series back in 2010. Latest to come on board is a former Ferrari engineering director, Pat Fry. Fry's going to oversee the engineering department of Manor on a consultant's basis. He's the second former Ferrari engineer to join Manor this offseason. Nicholas Tombatsits came on board to be their chief aerodynamicist. It's a good word. Fry also joins a former colleague by the name of Davey Ryan. The two worked together at McLaren. Ryan was brought on as Manor's new racing director in 2015. I'm impressed by what they're doing. I just want to see whether it'll actually work to be to the product on the track.
It's great when you come up with all these ideas, but implementing ideas and making them successful is a whole nother ballgame.
That it is. Report out of the European racing magazine and website Autosport says that the state-owned Venezuelan oil company PDVA must offer guarantees to Renault in the next week or so in order for Pastor Maldonado, a Venezuelan native, to remain a driver for that organization. Should they not get that guarantee, the site reports Maldonado out. And they're going to give the seat to Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen frustrated in 2015 after being put into a reserve role with McLaren, with Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso limping to Honda's return to the sport. McLaren dropped Magnussen from that role altogether, left him searching for a team in 2016. Really, in the end, doesn't matter who's going to be in the seat, Maldonado or Magnussen. It is known that the other driver going to be a 2016 rookie, Joylan Palmer. He was the 2014 GP2 champion. According to the report, the final decision on who's going to drive will be made before the February 3rd official launch of the new organization in Paris, France. So next weekend we should have information for you on who it's going to be and what the official team name is going to be. I'm going to go with Renault.
You think?
Probably.
Okay.
Any
I'll
guesses?
agree. That is about the best guess.
I really don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't make any sense to go anyplace else. More complications possibly on the horizon for the Italian Grand Prix. Organizers with the Monza course and the Automobile Club of Italy, promoters for the event, continue to negotiate with the attempt to come to a long-term agreement with Formula One to host that event. 2016 race is slated for September 4th, but it could be in jeopardy. According to reports, the IAC is offering the equivalent of $20 million. Ecclestone wants the equal of $28 million. We would just offer 24 and be done with it. Sticci Damiani, I can't make these names up, quoted by Italian media as saying that the number that Ecclestone is seeking is, quote, higher than we are paying, but much lower than other racetracks. He cited Baku, Azerbaijan, their first year on the schedule. They're going to be paying over the next 3 years the equivalent of $150 million to host 3 races. It must be nice to have.
I'd love to have $150 million just to blow on 3 races.
I'd like to have $150 million. It wouldn't be blown on 3 races.
I would blow it on 3 race cars.
Yes, exactly. That said, officials with the Monza circuit do continue to alter the look and the feel of the legendary course. According to Italian press, course officials are considering a chicane in the famed Curva Grande corner. It's a long, fast, sweeping turn, and it may be necessary because motorcycles are considering a race at Monza. For those who don't know what a chicane is, best described as 2 back-to-back sharp corners installed with the intent to slow the racers down. Construction of the new stretch of pavement is reported to cost about $4.5 million American dollars. See, there's your $4 million that you should have told the FIA and Formula One's Bernie Ecclestone. I'll tell you what, let's do this. We'll let the motorcycles go with what they know. Speed. Anyway, let's say that it should be implemented for the 2017 racing season.
Make a turn.
Yeah, well, to make because they're actually coming back around. Yeah, really, they're coming back around and they're going through most of that really long curve. And Formula One's going to continue to use the outside, but this is for motorcycles only, and it's a stretch of probably 2.5 miles with 2 90-degree turns that get you back onto the main straight.
All I need is a chalk line and
a bulldozer.
Yeah, I could give them a turn
asphalt.
And a paver.
99% cost. 99% less cost than that.
Formula One's boss, Bernie Ecclestone, says he's now more confident than ever that the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas is going to remain on the schedule. He knows about the cut in funding from the state of Texas's sport event subsidy, but feels as though that the funding gap will be resolved and is, quote, absolutely, unquote, certain the race will continue. But he does still have yet to remove the provisional title from the official Formula One calendar, so it could still be removed. Interesting, came across this. Former Red Bull racing driver Mark Webber recently asked to rank all the drivers in the Formula One grid who the best driver is. Who do you think he might have chosen?
I would have said Hamilton.
First name he mentioned was Fernando Alonso. Said about the McLaren driver Fernando, I wouldn't say he's running out of puff, but his motivation, I think at this moment, is challenged for sure. Then he talked about who he felt was the best and the worst. He went with his former Red Bull racing teammate Sebastian Vettel. Said despite the strife within the organization between the two in their final season, quote, if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Sebastian. In terms of pulling the whole juggernaut together and getting the whole team going, I think he will do it at Ferrari shortly. For the worst, he looked to the aforementioned Pastor Maldonado, the Lotus Renault driver who's unsure of his 2016 sponsorship due to his home country troubles. Webber said this, quote, he's out of his depth and just shouldn't be there.
How you feel about that, Pastor?
I think he's a little more worried about something else right now, as to whether he actually will keep that ride or not.
He's just driving as much as he can.
Former 4-time champion Scott Dixon, the Verizon IndyCar Series, was recently asked, could a driver currently competing in the Verizon IndyCar Series be a contender in Formula One? Said it's more than just talent. He's 35 years old, as we mentioned, going to be in the 24 Hours of Daytona this weekend. Took time to address the idea of Formula One and said, quote, having a lot of talent doesn't get you on top of on its own anymore, especially in single-seater racing. In Formula One, there's probably only 6 or 8 guys who are getting paid. The rest are bringing money in. And then he added about self-sponsored drivers, quote, the manufacturers are not necessarily looking for money, so they take the talent, and that's why you're seeing an increase of the young people heading in that direction. So you've got some talent, but if you got a sponsor with you, sorry, Garrett, you're in a better position. So at least in Formula One, we're not seeing it so much in IndyCar. We don't see it so much in NASCAR. But there's a couple of teams that are out there that would like to see the driver bring his own sponsorship as well.
That's a lot for a Formula One
But in
driver.
Formula One, we've talked about how much the budgeting is over there. That's a lot of stuff to ask out of a sponsor to come in and say, hey, listen, I need you to sponsor the car fully too.
Yeah, and it's like as soon as they get the bill, you want me to pay what?
Yeah, exactly.
And I guarantee you 90% of those sponsors that, are in Formula One would gladly go over and sponsor a NASCAR because it's going to be half the cost.
Yeah, probably. To FIA Formula E News, Team Aguri announced that they are working up a driver change. Thing is, they had only announced early in the week who was leaving. That was Nathaniel Berthon. Berthon claimed a top 10 in the season opener in Beijing, so it's a little bit of a curiosity why the driver and the team have parted ways. Berthon said he's confident he'll land another ride, saying, quote, I am determined more than ever to continue my career in Formula E. Would like to thank Team Aguri for giving me a start in the series. I'm confident I will race and score points in the Paris E-Prix April the 23rd. So he's looking past both South America and the North American leg of this particular series. He's waiting until they go over to Europe. Team Aguri currently 6th in championship points out of 9 teams. Took him a couple of days. Thursday, the team announced that they have replaced Berthon with a Mexican-born driver by the name of Salvador Duran. It's actually going to be rejoining Team Aguri. He drove 9 events for the team in the series' first season, but he only scored 13 points. So I'm wondering whether it's a chemistry issue or whether it was, you know what, we can't find anybody else at this late date, so here, get in the car.
I think that's what it was.
Probably. Bruno Senna and Nico Prost faced off against each other in the first Formula E race-off. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It took place Saturday at the Xfinity Arena in downtown London. What's a Xfinity Arena? For those of you that don't know, it's an actual building built for nothing more than gaming.
I need to go
All
there.
video gaming, highly competitive video gaming.
See ya.
Fans were on hand at the gaming facility to post their best times around the Long Beach E-Prix course for a chance to race either Senna or Prost. And the fastest 16 went into a semifinals. The ultimate fan winner was a Brit, Zach Scholes. And the time showed that the virtual racers were actually bettering the times that the pros put up virtually. Then Senna and Prost faced off against each other in the best-of-3 format. Senna ended up the winner. Here's the thing, Zach, with all due respect, both Senna and Prost would kick your butt if they actually put you into a Formula E car. So don't get all hopped up, Bubba.
Well, that's like all these kids that play Call of Duty and everything else. They think that this is the real thing. You're sitting on your couch in your mom's basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I tell Garrett that all the time with his racing the NASCARs, and when we went to real racing, first words, there's not a reset button.
You can't press pause. No, you can't do that.
There is no reset buttons and automatic fix your car.
No doubt about that.
Remember that.
If that life was real, I am now an 11-time Sprint Cup Series champion.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Try and make that work.
Yes.
Over to NHRA with the advent of timers, as we talked about with late model Mark last hour, becoming more and more reliable and consistent. The NHRA has announced that a previous 1% backup policy that was used to certify national speed or timing records is going to be scrapped. The new rule is that any speed or time that bests a previous standing record is going to be counted as long as it is the record at the end of that weekend's events. So in other words, if in the opening round I post a brand new best time and then Dustin in the final round bests that, then Dustin's got the record. So it can be broken few or several times over the course of a weekend. New rule regarding records covers all levels of NHRA racing, Mellow Yellow Series, Lucas Oil Series, J&A Service Pro Mod, and others. Graham Light, who is the Senior VP of Racing Operations for the NHRA, said that the 1% policy was adopted during the early development stages of the timing system, wasn't as reliable as the technology we are fortunate to have in race control today. We will still examine every national record run to make sure the incremental numbers support the performance, in addition to inspecting every vehicle for compliance with class requirements. Right now, the NHRA keeps records for elapsed time and speed for Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, and Pro Stock Motorcycle. Most of the records were set in 2015. The only two that were not, their holdovers, include Pro Stock Speed, set in May of 2014, and Pro Stock Motorcycle ET. That was set way back in October of 2012. I'm a little surprised that hasn't been broken since then.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
When Alexis DeJoria takes to the dragway this season, her Toyota Camry Funny Car entry going to continue to sport the colors of her sponsor, Patron Tequila, but it's not going to look like last year's. In 2014, the car sported red, orange, and yellow colors. That was 2015. 2014, the colors were purple and gold. Now for 2016, the colors are going to return to the base Patron colors. They're going to be black and green as they go with the silver label look on most bottles. Pro Stock driver Alan Johnson revealed on Wednesday he has a new sponsor. It's Marathon Petroleum Corporation. So we get one guy getting out because the oil prices have dropped, but Marathon Oil is coming in.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
2012 Pro Stock champion released an artist rendition of the car. Is going to compete in the Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series in 2016, a continuation of a partnership between Johnson and Marathon, as Johnson currently owns 37 quick stop markets in the North Carolina and South Carolina area. All of them carry the Marathon brand. Another Pro Stock racer getting some sponsor help, Shane Gray. He's going to see Valvoline take up the majority of the space on the hood of his Chevrolet Camaro Pro Stocker. Secondary sponsorship from Nova Services. Valvoline is a longtime partner with Gray Motorsports. They've now signed on for the entire 2016 Mellow Yellow Racing Drag Series, with Nova Services Oil and Gas Servicing Company coming on board as an associate. For as yet undetermined 2016 events, they'll actually be the main sponsor on the hood as well. And the 28th class to be inducted in the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America is set to include a man who's known for winning in NASCAR, Indycar, and the now Tudor United Sports Car Series, the aforementioned Chip Ganassi. He began as an aspiring driver himself, then he moved on to team ownership. Ganassi's one of 7 in the 2016 class that includes former IndyCar driver and TV announcer Sam Posey, 1955 Indy 500 winner Bob Swikert, and another team owner, Richard Childress. Yet another voice inducted, or another to be inducted, is longtime NHRA announcer Dave McClelland, who was one time known as the voice of the NHRA as well. So congratulations to all them. All this Hall of Fame stuff makes me kind of sad. I'd like to be inducted myself someday.
Keep working.
It's going to be a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. We're looking forward to seeing you guys out on the track and being out there with you on numerous occasions. So keep us updated on what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And as we have said on many occasions, doors wide open to you at all times.
Oh, thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We take off, but you know what? We're back next week. We'll actually have some results from the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona.
That's right. See ya.
See ya.